Okay, so last time we left off, we had a player character moving around, but with no graphic to use with it. So I need to do that right now. And I'm thinking of going with some sort of fighter jet design, and honestly there isn't that much to say while doing that, so I might as well just play some music while doing that. I just needed an image to go off of. Which one would be good? Maybe this one. Okay. I haven't used this program in a while, so I'm gonna have to relearn how to use it. It's super hard to see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to copy and paste this so I can mirror it. Object. Scale. Okay. That looks pretty good to me. Okay, so we now have a player SVG. This is what the code that got generated looks like. So now we need to figure out how to draw an SVG onto the screen. So I'm gonna just look it up. Okay, great. So we would need to do it'd probably be good to have a list of assets. So I'm just going to do const assets. Then I'll set the player to a new image. Can't do that. And I need to set the source for the image. So assets.player.source equals player.svg. Okay. So now that will load while the train is generating. Probably. So that means instead of having all of this, we can have draw image assets.player, and then we can just set this to the X and Y positions. So let's start the server and see what happens. Hey, we have something. It's a bit big, but whatever. I'm sure we can scale this. So I should probably look up draw image. Okay, I have actually used this before, so I can just do the X and Y and set a size. So I'll just set that to the width of the screen over, I don't know, some number. And then I'll actually have to do this twice because I have to set the width and height. Okay. Okay, it's super tiny now. Can hardly see it. You probably can't actually see it on the YouTube video because the quality is bad. But this number definitely needs to be, bigger. Okay. Still not sure how well you can see this. Yeah, it looks like you can see this. But I think it would be a good idea to go back into the image and give it some stroke so it'll show up against dark backgrounds. So we need a white stroke. So there's a weird stroke in the middle here. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to like merge these. Union, that looks like a good button. Ah, yes. So now we have a white stroke. Can't really see it on the white background, but okay, let's see if this helps. Okay, there's no white background. Maybe the white background didn't draw properly. I wonder if I can change the background. Actually, I'm just gonna change this to a different stroke color, like just for testing. Okay. So now let's set it back to white and save this. Okay, so now I have a white background, or white border. I still think this should be a bit bigger though. So let's set this to 32. So that should make it twice as big. Okay. There we go. So you might notice it's not actually rotating. So we need to make it do that. So we can do draw.save to save the transformation of the canvas, and then draw dot, oh, what is it? Not very familiar with canvas transformations, so I'm probably going to have to look it up. There we go. Save, restore. Okay. So this should be draw.restore. So then, just looking through the page, rotate angle. So here we can rotate, draw.rotate by the rotation. So this might break, but okay, yeah. So currently it's rotating around the origin of the screen, which happens to be in the top corner over here, which isn't very helpful, as you can see. So what we need to do is transform. Wait, no. That would be translate, not transform. Translate. And we would want to do this by this dot x and this dot y. And we would also have to subtract the camera position. And since we're moving the origin to where the player is, we can just draw the origin. Since again, the origin is where the player is now. And then restore resets it to how it was before. Okay, it's doing the same thing. That's weird. So what's the issue there? I think it's because I'm rotating before translating. Yeah, that is far better. But still looks very strange. So first of all, the rotation, it's rotated the 90 degrees the wrong way. So you either have to add or subtract 90 degrees. Okay. So that works. However, it also seems to be rotating around the origin of the picture, but not the center. So we'd also have to subtract the width, but half of it. So half of the width of the image should translate it to the middle and make it rotate around the middle. Okay. It's still not doing that. So I guess what point is it rotating around? Maybe if I set the acceleration to 0, it should be easier to see. Okay, so now it's not moving. I have a feeling I need to add this. No. Okay. That's a bit weird. I think I would have to subtract it though. Yeah, it's still not working, unsurprisingly. Maybe if I was to do it in the draw image. I think that might work. Okay, it does. So now it is pointing in the direction it's supposed to. So now I can have it actually move. And now I have an airplane moving in a way that makes sense. So that's pretty good. So what now? Maybe shooting. Although, maybe we should implement enemies first. So enemies aren't actually going to be drawn because they're going to show up in the radar. So, however, we are going to draw them until we have radar implemented. So I need a class for an enemy, and I need a constructor function that will take in the X and Y position, and also the rotation. So It might also be good to have a radar cross-section. It actually would probably be good to have this, instead of being an enemy, a radar object, which would be a thing that reflects radar, and we can make enemies. Like inherit from this, so it'll have all the same values and stuff that would be in anything that reflects radar. So that would be how much radar it reflects. So I might need to add more stuff to that later, but now I need an enemy class, actually, this time, probably, which has, although, I should probably look up how inheriting objects works first. Okay. So you need an enemy that extends radar object. And so for the enemy, I need a constructor function within x, y, radar cross-section, and rotation. So looks like I need to input this into the radar object constructor. I need to do super x, y, and radar cross-section. But I also need to add the R. Anyways, I also need a show function, except it's not actually going to show anything when we have the radar doing stuff, but we're just going to have it show a circle for now, or I guess a line like before. I shouldn't have deleted that. However, I do have the old code on GitHub, so that's good. So you can just go to never mind, I don't have the actual code. I'll just have to rewrite it. So point 1, and again, it would be good to have an x and y for the rotation. So x would be the cosine of this dot r, and y would be the sine of this dot r. So point 1, the position would be the x times some number plus the x minus the camera x, and same for the y position. And then same for the second point. Except we can't use the normal x. Because we would have to add pi to it. And we also can't call them both point 1. So then we need to draw a line. So begin path, then need to set the start of the line. So you need to set the start of the line to the point 1, and then we need to draw a line to point 2. And then we need to actually render the line. We would also need to set a color, so stroke style equals black. Okay. So now we should have an enemy object, which is a radar object, which we can see. So I'm just going to have a list of enemies. And I'm just going to add 100 of them. Actually, not 100 of them. Maybe 10. So we need to add a new enemy to the list. And we'll just set that at a random x and y. I'm also going to put this after the terrain width and height so I can use them. Aha. And maybe we'll set the radar cross-section to 1 so it would appear very bright. And we'll just have it rotated randomly right now. Yeah. Okay. We can also probably just not bother asking for a radar cross-section here and just preset it to 1. So that should add 10 enemies to the enemies list, but we actually have to draw them. So So I'm showing the player here. So let's loop through all the enemies. Wait, there we go. And then we need to do enemies index I dot show. So that should run this code for every enemy on screen. So we now have some big lines, I guess, for enemies. Let's maybe make them a bit smaller. For the purposes of testing, without cluttering too much of the screen. Let's also make them thinner. Okay. That's definitely better. So now we have to make them move like the player can. So we can just copy all of this code over here. And also set the acceleration to something. Let's just say the acceleration equals the player's minimum. Wait a minute, I didn't switch the code over. That's not good. Okay. Looks like this code wants this dot acceleration. Okay, so now these enemies should start moving in a straight line. Is there an error? There are not errors. Okay. That's weird. So I definitely don't see any. I'm just gonna get rid of console.loggingMessage.data real quick. So let's just try again. Make sure it's not a fluke. Okay, there definitely aren't any. So that's not good. There's no Vx. There's no velocity values. So we need to set Vx to 0. We need to set Vy to 0. Doesn't look like there's anything else. Okay. So now these dudes are moving. Which is good. However, we need to give them some sort of AI. maybe like turn towards the player unless it's too close. I don't know. So to be able to do that, we would need to have we'd need to know the angle towards the player it would have to move towards. So the function for that would be atan2, or arctangent2, which takes in a y and an x and converts it to an angle. So to be able to use that, I would need the player.x, no, that would be y, minus this.y, and then player.x minus this.x. Let's just call this angle to player. And I guess we can just set the rotation to, sorry, hiccups, angle to player. So now these should be pointing towards the player, which they are, which is good. However, it would be good to have them stop and point somewhere else once they're close to the player. So if the distance between the position of the enemy and the position of the player is less than, say, 1/16 of the train width, then we'll just set this dot r to some random value, I guess. Now this would definitely be a bad AI, which I'd have to tweak later. And also, if I did this, then it would spam random directions, which is not good. So I would need to say if it's moving in a random direction, then we can just set that to false. Where is it? Okay, so we can set this dot random direction to true and have it only do anything if the random direction is false. The exclamation mark means not. The two ands mean and. So we would also have to set this if it's some value away from the player. So So if it's not moving in a random direction, then it'll continue pointing towards the player. But if it is moving in a random direction, then it will test if the distance is less than some, although I guess if it's greater than some value, some distance away from the player. Maybe a fourth of the terrain width. I don't know. Let's see how bad this is. Okay, there's an error. 85. Whoops. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, it's broken. I forgot to write a distance function. Should be useful. So I need function dist x1, y1, x2, y2, and then this needs to return the square root of x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. So now I actually have a distance function. Okay. So it looks like they disappear when they get close, which is bad. So what's causing that? Should probably make this variable angle to turn. And set this to angle to turn. And then set the rotation to angle to turn. Okay. See if these guys disappear now. And they do. So what's the issue there? I'm gonna look at the enemies list. So their rotations are undefined, which is bad. So I guess I can say that if the angle to, so if there is no angle to turn, then, although I guess it'd be better to say if there is an angle to turn, then set the rotation to the angle to turn. So now, if there is no angle to turn, then it won't turn. Looking at this one right now. Okay, so that's good. It looks like they are successfully doing my AI. My very bad AI. So I guess it'd probably be good if we had angle to turn. We did this dot angle to turn. And we just replaced angle to turn with this dot angle to turn. So now I can also get rid of this, and also this, and also if the R is less than the angle to turn, then we subtract the speed that the player can turn, so this much. But if it's bigger, then we add it. However, this is still not good, because if the angle to turn is like math.pi times 2, but the current rotation is 0, then, well, they're the same angle, but it'll still want to turn a loop, which is bad. So I need to figure out some way to test for that. Taking a modulus is definitely going to help. And then maybe subtract this dot r. Although that wouldn't work. I'm not sure what to do about this. Let's just test this first. Okay, they're spinning in circles. That's not good. I believe this should be greater than instead of less than. Yeah, there we go. Although now they're wiggling. So I guess we can say that if this dot r is less than or equal to 0.05 and this dot r is greater than or equal to negative 0.05, except we also have to add this dot angle to turn. Then we can just set this dot r to angle to turn. So hopefully that should stop the wiggling. Which seems to be what it's done, which is good. However, you might be able to notice it is doing the problem I noticed. See if I can demonstrate it. It looks like there are some other problems, actually. So I actually have to set random direction to false somewhere. So this dot random direction equals false. Yeah, so that seems to be working. So now to fix that weird angle problem. I think using some sort of graphing calculator to visualize the issue should help. So I would need a circle. So there's a circle. So I need a point on the circle. I'd also need another target point. So the problem here is that if it's pointing this way, then it will see that 8.1 is bigger than 1.3, so it will want to increase R. Actually, a bad example. If it's like this, then it'll see that R2 is greater than the target R is greater than the current R, so it will want to increase, which will make it go all the way around the circle instead of just going this way. So I think what I can do is add math.pi times 2. So I think that'll work. I'm not really sure. Okay, it didn't work. Maybe I have to subtract. Okay, it didn't work. And also now it's jiggling again. So that's not good. So what can I do about this? Okay. I might have to add math.pi times 2 to the R, which I suppose would be the same thing as subtracting, so it probably won't work, and we'll get the same result. Yeah. What can I do about that? Maybe if I take a modulus of, like I said, R2, then modulus of itself with math.pi times 2. So that will keep it between 0 and math.pi times 2. Okay, that's not good. So I had a problem like this before. Okay, so yeah, math.atan2 can be negative. So it would be good to do the modulus of this too. And also modulus is actually broken in JavaScript, so that wouldn't even help in the first place. So I need some sort of modulus that works. Okay. So I'm just going to, I can just copy this into here. So now I can just say dot mod here, dot mod here, dot mod here, dot mod here. So now modulus should work properly. So that's the problem. It's fixed now. Which it looks like it isn't, since these guys are still just going in circles. Just doing a bit of experimenting. I think it would be good to put the dot mod to modulus this before everything happens and stuff. Yeah, it's still not working. and some of them are jiggling. This is so annoying. Hold on. So I guess if the target is here and the R value is here, then the code will check if it is so the code will check if it is bigger, which it is. Hold on. What if I change this to an and? Okay. I think this is all messed up. I think what we want is if the R and the R minus the angle to turn, and we would want the absolute value, I think. Actually, no. If this is negative, then that means the target is behind the thing. But if it is less than or equal to math.pi, then negative math.pi, then it would be faster to to subtract and go this way than to add and go this way. So you would want to subtract. Otherwise, you'd want to add. So, otherwise, if it's greater than 0, so let's try an example here. Then so I believe I can just copy this code over, but place this signs. That should be plus. So hopefully this works. And it's not. Did I mess up? Okay, this should be positive math.py. Okay, they seem to all want to turn in this one direction and get stuck. Okay. So if the difference is less than math.py, you would want to subtract. So I got these backwards. So it looks like some of them are getting stuck. So like, what's this guy doing? Maybe I should modulus it again. So we now have some sort of technically functioning AI, I guess. Anyways, I think this would be a... Wait a minute. There we go. So, I think this would be a good time to stop and continue this next time. So, I shall see you next time.